Hello, it's Dawn Michelle from Boho Tarot, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Liminal Spirits Oracle by Laura Tempest Zakroff and released by Llewellyn Publishing. The Liminal Spirits Oracle opens a gateway to spiritual connection. The magical artwork connects you to the wisdom of the witch so you can tap into the spirit realm and the deeper energies within yourself. Featuring ethereal art from the author of Weave the Liminal and Sigil Witchery, this deck can be used as a system of divination, a tool for spellcraft, a means to commune with liminal spirits, and a focus for meditation. So this beautiful oracle deck is one that's actually been on my wish list for quite some time because I am quite the fan of Laura Tempest Zakroff's works. So I do have several of her books, including Sigil Witchery, Weave the Liminal, and The Witch's Altar, all of which I love and have read multiple times actually, and several of them I dip in and out of. So when I saw that she had done an oracle deck, I was super excited to have Llewellyn send it to me to check it out so that I could share it with you here today. And you can see here that it has the easy magnetic opening, so it just opens right up. Inside we have a beautiful representation of what the card backs look like. Now I have unwrapped all of the packaging, but I haven't looked through it yet at all, so this will be sort of my first impression as we look through this beautiful oracle together. We do have a wonderful full color guidebook, which we will take a look at more in depth here in a moment, but you know me, I want to jump right into the cards. So it does have a little ribbon release here, which is fantastic. And the cards did come with just one little plastic wrap around them, so that was really nice. It kept them all in place, but we do have these wonderful sides that keep the deck right in where it needs to be. And look at this illustration in the bottom. I think that's just beautiful. So before we jump into the cards, I just want to show you the beautiful card backs. We have that lovely swirly pattern. I think that's just fantastic. I think this is a deck that's going to be a lot of fun to edge. So let's go ahead and jump into the cards. We begin all journeys by crossing through the gateway or threshold and setting our feet upon the path. The gateway at the crossroads, where two or more roads meet, is a place of choice and possibility. Our roots are made up of many things: our ancestors, the people in our immediate and chosen families, and the places we come from. Roots can direct us not just to who or where, but also to how and why things are the way they are. There are things that come to us by way of nature and nurture, and then there is the spirit of inspiration. Time is about marking the phases of the moon, observing the Earth's revolution around the sun, and understanding the schedules of our own bodies. Connecting to our environment, its seasons, landscape, lore, and energies enables us to center our practice and orient ourselves to the world around us. Our ancestors have long oriented themselves by the stars, using them as guides to travel long distances over land and sea. Stars illuminate our journey, even in the darkest of times. The ocean is primordial and powerful. Beneath its rolling waves and untold depths, a dance of life and death is constantly being performed. Many people mistake forests as being quiet places, but from its fertile floor to the highest branches, the forest is a community constantly in motion. The desert is a place of extremes, extreme heat during the day and bone-chilling cold at night. It isn't forgiving, it takes great fortitude to survive in the desert. The mythical cave, home of the hermit, lair of the monsters, place of mystery, navel of the earth. It asks us to use touch and sound to find our way, feeling internally instead of relying on sight. The burial ground is a place of memory, a monument to those who have come before us, and a reminder of our own futures. The mighty and tall oak emerges from a tiny acorn. The oak is seen as a symbol of strength, honor, knowledge, divination, and longevity, and is associated with many deities. The gloriously fragrant cedar is an evergreen tree, so no matter the season, it reminds us of life. The cedar's spiritual and medicinal properties are said to help us gain courage, build our confidence, and aid in grounding. The walnut is associated with protection, love, dreams, inspiration, and intelligence, as well as containing, cleansing, and banishing energies. The birch is associated with beginnings, flexibility, communication, and cleansing. The unusual bark can look like eyes, making us feel that the birches are watching. In Norse mythology, the world tree that contains all the known 9 worlds is said to be an ash tree. All these stories combine to give ash the symbolism of connection, knowledge, insight, durability, and longevity. Rue has a long-standing reputation as an herb capable of reversing or breaking spells that are manipulative or harmful. The unassuming mugwort is an herb of many uses, including protection, consecration, uncovering memory, enhancing dreams, and guidance. Also known as deadly nightshade, belladonna means beautiful lady in Italian. The herb may have gained this name through centuries of use in cosmetics, but belladonna herself is an herb that is very alluring and demands respect. Mandrake is another herb that has a long history with witchcraft and a great deal of lore linking it to fertility, sexual vigor, prosperity, and longevity. Monkshood is both beautiful and dangerous. Due to its highly poisonous nature, the herb has underworld associations and historically has been used for invocations. The snake and humanity have been linked by myth since ancient times. Outside the limited concept of sin, the snake reveals to us the mysteries of death, rebirth, healing, and transformation. The toad begins its life in water as a tadpole, then transforms to become a creature of land. This speaks deeply to the toad's connection to adaptation, regeneration, and of course, transformation. This little water dragon symbolizes vitality, bravery, courage, renewal, growth, and spiritual pursuits. In alchemical lore, the salamander is believed to be a fire eater and able to quench flames with its body, emerging unscathed. The fish resides in a curious place that fascinates the human mind, the realm of water situated between earth and sky. The fish brings fertility, rejuvenation, playfulness, inspiration, determination, and luck. Silently, the snail glides across the leaf, leaving behind a glistening trail of where he's been, tentatively exploring the world around him. The wise owl brings with it an appreciation of silence and knowledge of the realms of magic and mystery. The corvid represents the crow family, which includes crows, jackdaws, magpies, rooks, and of course ravens. Exceptionally intelligent, observant, and community-oriented, the corvid brings initiation, protection, death, and the gift of memory. Flaunting its painted fan of brilliantly colored feathers, the peacock is associated with beauty, boldness, vision, prosperity, royalty, spirituality, and watchfulness. The flutter of the moth's wings brings on change, transformation, secrecy, and psychic development. The honeybee has a mighty impact on the world around her. The pollination of the plants she visits provides nourishment for other animals while contributing to her own family. The fox is a creature of craft and cunning with the tools of diplomacy, charisma, deception, and play within easy reach. Graceful and majestic, the deer resides in the depths of the woods and on the edge of meadows. He speaks of sovereignty, gentle fierceness, and hidden power. With its soothing purr, big eyes, and twitching tail, the cat embodies perception, preservation, patience, curiosity, chance, and confidence. The hare is associated with the powers of rebirth, fertility, sensuality, and intuition. As the hare is most active at night, it is frequently connected with the moon. The goat seems to have boundless energy and definitely a lust for life. Crystals have long enchanted humankind. Crystals can represent sharpness and clarity, precision, spirituality, purity, love, and protection. The ancient alchemists believed that metals held not only magical properties, but also spiritual connections. Clay has long played an important part in creation myth. Our hands give clay shape, then fire transforms its molecules into something that stands the test of time. It takes great skill to produce threads that are consistent and useful, which may explain the association of good, dependable people being of a solid moral fiber. We also connect fiber with the fates, the mythic weavers who form, measure, and cut the threads of our lives. Bones, being the earthly remains of the dead, speak broadly of mortality, yet their ability to endure reminds us of the power of life and the steadfastness of memory. Fungi are not plants or animals, but in a category all their own. Mushrooms thrive in the darkness, growing from and transforming decomposing material. Essentially, they create life from the most basic particles of death, and sometimes even carry death, or at least the doorway to it, on their spores. So let's talk a little bit about the structure of the deck, because as I was flipping through the cards, you might have noticed, as I did, that there were multiple groups structured within this deck. So it says the Liminal Spirits Oracle deck is essentially split into 8 groups of 5 plus 2 outlier cards for a total of 42 spirits. Each group explores a selection of spirits that are connected and similar in some way. So we have 8 groups total, so I thought it would be interesting to go through the groups. So it says these groups collect together spirits of common concepts, biological tendencies, and or elemental qualities. They are meant to help introduce the seeker to these spirits in a familiar and recognizable way. However, the groups are not meant to confine these spirits in any way. So the first grouping is the outliers. So these are the 2 cards in the Oracle that are not associated with a group, and they are the Gateway and the Mushroom. So the Gateway actually started the collection of cards and the Mushroom ended it. So I think that's really interesting that we kind of start with the Gateway as the beginning and the Mushroom as the end of the cycle. So the next group is the Rites, and this is a 5-fold approach to witchcraft, which is composed of roots, inspiration, time, environment, and star. These elements help us think about where we come from, allow for experimentation, mark time effectively, connect with our environment, and discern the shape of our path. So our next group is the Places, and this group explores places of liminal power, locations that often act as borders or gateways on multiple levels. So in here we have the ocean, the forest, the desert, the cave, and the burial ground. So here we have our group which speaks to the wisdom of the trees, the powers our ancestors saw within them, and what we can learn from them now. At their heart, they represent longevity, transformation, and connectivity. So we have our oak, our cedar, our walnut, our birch, and our ash. So next we have our grouping of herbs. The knowledge of herb spirit speaks of the importance of taking action in the immediate presence. Efforts made now can seed future possibilities for generations to come. So in this group, we have rue, mugwort, belladonna, mandrake, and monkshood. So next we have our grouping of scale, slither, and swim. It says lurking under the leaves and rocks, living liminally between earth, water, and sky. The creatures of this group tell us about the powers of those who are often overlooked or even unappreciated. Many of these creatures have earned an unfair reputation for being a pest, physically repugnant, and or dangerous, but each have their own beauty, wonder, and place in the world, which becomes clear when we take the time to get to know them better. So in this grouping, we have the snake, the toad, the salamander, the fish, and the snail. So next we have our winged spirits, and while they are still deeply connected to the earth, making their homes among the herbs and trees and taking their place in the cycle of life, their ability to take flight above the earth gives them a perspective that most landlocked beings can only dream of experiencing by proxy or with the aid of a machine. Through them, we can experience some of the mysteries known only to those with wings. So included in this group, we have the owl, the corvid, the peacock, the moth, and the honeybee. Next, we have the fur fauna group. Being warm-blooded and furry, there's something else that makes this group definitely feel closer to us humans than any other creatures on Earth. Perhaps we can find the reason for this in the number of early myths that describe them as our parents, siblings, and cousins. There is so much we can learn about our own species from visiting with these spirits. So in this group, we have fox, deer, cat, hare, and goat. And our last grouping here is the artifacts, and these artifacts both possess the essence of the material they originate from, as well as acquiring a new persona. The changes occur not only in their physical transformation into tools, but also in the collective residue they acquire with use over time. Artifacts become holders of memories, transferring energy and power with each use over generations. So in this grouping, we have crystal, metal, clay, fiber, and bone. So now that we've had a chance to look at the cards and talk a little bit about the structure of the deck, let's take a quick peek at the guidebook. It is a lovely little bound book, totally full color. We have a little bit about our author here, our table of contents, and each card is divided up not only by its category, but also has its page number and title associated there, which makes it really handy to find. It says, when we explore the liminal, we cross over into a space between worlds, the threshold between the physical or known realm and that of mysteries. The liminal is a state of transition, the doorway into metaphysical perception, a crossroad, a meeting of minds. The moving, a fluid line where the sea meets the shore, and the curious zone between sea and suburbia are both liminal spaces, as is the space within the magic circle. The liminal is not only a gateway for getting in touch with ourselves, but it can also be an excellent place to commune with ancestors, deities, and spirits of all kinds. It says, recognize that this oracle is a gateway to possibilities. It's not meant to be a definitive text on anyone's spirit, but rather a doorway to engaging with that family of spirits. I think that's really great that it's really open to interpretation. It talks a little bit about working with the deck, which we talked about in the structure. It does have a write-up for each of the groups. We can find a little bit more about each of those. Then we have a little bit about using the oracle to commune with spirit. Pulling a single card for divination and meditation. A couple of different spreads. This one is a 5-card directional, which is really interesting. Have a little bit about spellcraft in the oracle, and the oracle as a guide to path construction. That might be really interesting to read. And then it says, now it's time to meet the spirits. We have a full page color image on one side. We have a little description about the card. And then we also have some messages, which is really interesting. Sometimes there are questions to ask yourself. Sometimes there are things to think about. And we have that for each of the cards. Occasionally we do have some of these note pages as well. So it goes all the way through all of the different cards. You can see, look at that beautiful artwork. That's one of the things that I find really wonderful about this deck is the kind of intuitive artwork. I think it's really great. So we have a little conclusion here where it says, clearly this deck could have easily covered twice the number of places, plants, and creatures included. I would say that it would definitely be the case. Maybe there'll be some other cards or other decks added along the way. We have some recommendations for additional study, which includes some of her other books, several of which I have, and a little bit about contacting the author. So really great little guidebook. I really do enjoy the write-ups in it. I do enjoy her writing overall. As like you can see here, I have several of her books. One of the things that I really liked about this deck and looking through it is the kind of use of structure. I do like it when a deck has a structure because I feel like that opens it up to several different ways that I can work with it. If there's a certain family, spirit family that I wanted to tap into, say maybe, you know, trees, I could just choose one of the trees to work with, or if I wanted to maybe have a specific energy that I wanted to work with, that I wanted to tap into snail energy, I could certainly choose this card from the deck. I also think that you could use this to kind of tap into different energies, laying the cards out, and then using some tarot around it to pull those deeper messages. It is a larger deck, you know, closer to oracle size, but I can get my hands around it because there's not a ton of cards, and it does shuffle really well. It does have a bit of a gloss to it, as you can see here. It's not the super sticky gloss, just kind of that high sheen cardstock. But it does shuffle quite well to riffle shuffle, and of course it overhands quite nicely as well. These backs I think are really cool, very colorful. I thought it would be fun to just go ahead and maybe do a little shuffle and pull one of the cards and see what the message has for us in the guidebook. And we're getting the cedar today. So let's take a look at cedar in the guidebook. So for messages for cedar, we have analyze your foundation. Is it solid and strong or unstable and prone to decay, falling apart over time? So definitely have some questions in there you can ask. What's your foundational energy? It says scent is a powerful thing. It's invisible, yet a smell can affect our mental and emotional state, conjure up old memories, and give a deeper layer of atmosphere to a room. Cedar reminds us that scent is a simple yet wondrous tool to use for our workings. And it says, even if you're feeling alone, there is a legion of ancestors and spirits around you. Have faith in yourself, muster up some courage, and cleanse away those fears. So I think that's really interesting, tapping into definitely that idea of foundation, maybe taking a look at tapping into the sense of smell. That's something that I think that we often overlook when we're looking at our different workings and our different practices. And of course, it's also reminding you that there is support around you when you need it. So I think the write-ups really do allow you to kind of make use of this deck in a multitude of ways. I think the artwork is really charming. I really love the artwork. There's something about it that's very striking. It does feel like this artwork taps into the idea of liminal space, like it acts as a gateway or a portal. And I think that these would be really interesting to pull in a very intentional way to kind of activate the portal that you're looking to tap into. So maybe if I wanted to, you know, activate the portal of the honeybee. You know, maybe I want to really tap into that idea of community. That's the portal that I want to open. And I want to really focus on what can I do to cultivate that sense of community, or to maybe be a contributor to community. Maybe I could pull the honeybee card and then perhaps maybe do some tarot readings around it. I think that this deck would be actually a fantastic what I would call like a prompt deck, to pull a card and have that be your prompt or your focus card for your reading, and then maybe pull in some tarot around it. So let's do just a real quick little reading with honeybee here. Maybe what can we do to tap into that idea of community? What do we need to know around community? And I'm just gonna pull a couple cards from my first edition Star Tarot here because I happen to have it at hand. So interesting. We have the Seven of Swords there, and the honeybee in between with the star. So maybe what this is reminding us is that to tap into community, we have to kind of tap into those things that maybe we've buried. Maybe those practices that we haven't let come to the surface. Maybe that ancestral energy, that ancestral knowledge needs to be brought forward into community so that we can, again, follow our own paths. Maybe follow the path of ancestor, follow what's been set out before us. So I love this, just kind of this idea of maybe tapping into our roots, tapping into the practices that we've kept buried and bringing those back into community, letting those form our paths once again. And I think that the Star Tarot would be a really good match or pairing for this particular deck as well. So I thought real quick we'd just do a couple other little pairings just to kind of see how some other decks that I have might work well with this. We have the Witch's Wisdom with, of course, the liminal spirits in the middle. This is just beautiful. Look at the play of red flowing along the bottom of these cards. I think that's gorgeous. I feel like this would be a good match for this particular Oracle deck because they definitely have more of an earthy undertone to them, really focusing in on where we are, what we're doing, and where we're going, and trying to find the right path. And I think that these two decks really do that quite beautifully, and I think they will pair together really well. I'd be curious to use the liminal spirits as a focal point with a Witch's Wisdom reading. I think, of course, they look beautiful on the table together. But I do feel like they have a really cohesive energy as well, that they're both very mindful and very community aware decks, which I think is just absolutely beautiful. I love this, the snail between the Ten of Air and the moon. Gorgeous. So I thought we'd do a real quick pairing with the Greenwich Tarot, which is another one of my favorites, which I feel like I kind of pair quite often. Oh, look, my Queen of Pentacles. I feel like these decks really have a very cohesive energy to them. I feel like they both would read really well together. I love the color, and the art styles I think go really well in these two decks. We have inspiration between the Witch and the Three of Athmes. I mean, just beautiful. I feel like this would be a really good pairing. Love these two together, to really kind of tap into that witchy energy. That the Greenwich Tarot feels a little bit more earthy, a little bit more grounded, and the liminal spirits obviously feels a little bit more like tapping into that liminal space. So I like the idea of kind of using these to kind of balance each other out. More of a sort of focusing in on the liminal here with the liminal spirits, and then seeing how can we manifest that in the real world, in the mundane world, or the sort of magical mundane world. And I think that these work really well for that, to kind of create a little bit of balance between those two energies, kind of connecting the liminal space with the waking world. Let's just do a couple more here just so we can kind of see. Oh, the snake between the battle wagon, which would be the chariot, and the wheel of the year. That's quite beautiful, isn't it? Okay, one last little pairing here. We've got the Spacious Tarot with, of course, the liminal spirits in between. I thought, again, tapping into that earthy energy, really stepping into being mindful of not only where we are, but who we are and what we bring to this world and how we go about being within it. I think both of these decks work really well for that. Again, I think decks that could be used in a very mindful way. There's the Oak between the Five of Pentacles and the Elder of Pentacles. Really beautiful. Love that. Got all the swirls. All the swirls going on all the cards. Time, right? The idea of it takes time to balance these things, and time eventually comes back around to where it needs to be. Gorgeous. Love that. Here we have the Bone between the Two of Wands and the Magician. You have everything you need within you, deep inside your bones, right? You can take that and you can manifest it into what you need. That's gorgeous. So again, just another deck that I just thought would pair really well because they all have kind of similar, very earthy, very grounded, connected energies. The Spacious Tarot, I think, definitely taps into a little bit, again, more of the mundane type of world, where the liminal spirits is, you know, really asking us to traverse those liminal spaces. But I think that they do work beautifully to kind of balance each other out as well. How about this? The Cave between the Five of Swords and the Child of Swords. That's just stunning. I'm going to leave that right there. So I think that this is a really gorgeous deck. I love the idea of having all of these different portals through the animals, through the winged creatures. We have materials, artifacts to work with. We have structures to tap into, and I think it's just beautiful. I really do love the artwork. It feels very intuitive. It feels very resonant with the energy of the card, and I think it's just absolutely gorgeous. I'm really looking forward to working with it on a much deeper level. And it's been just beautiful to look through and to kind of just explore and get to know today. I've really enjoyed being able to do that with you all. Again, gorgeous, gorgeous deck. So again, that is the Liminal Spirits Oracle by Laura Tempest Zakroff. It's released by Llewellyn. I definitely want to thank Llewellyn Publishing for sending me this deck to share with you today. I would love to know if you have this deck. Is it something that's on your radar? I'd love to know your thoughts about it, so please feel free to share with me in the comments below. Thank you for joining me today. You'll find links for everything featured here in the description box below. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I look forward to seeing you again soon for more creative tarot for an inspired life.